I'm Alex Roberts.
I'm Jared Miller.
And it's time to dangle, snipe, and stampede.
It's gone!
Welcome, everyone, back to another episode of Dangle, Snipe, and Stampede. We're in a new location. Couldn't get the audio booth today.
It's colder in here, at least.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit cold, actually, so.
And lovely view of those curtains.
Of the curtains.
I'm Alex Roberts. That's Jared Miller. That's Aidan Glockner. Welcome back to Dangle, Snipe, and Stampede. All the teams are on the road this week. Not a whole lot to talk about, but something we can talk about is looking forward to this weekend's game, as well as dissecting what happened this past week. I think it's only fair to start with the D1 team. The men's D1 team. I don't know if you have any other open.
No, that works for
I'm
me.
totally fine with
Okay.
that.
Well, we were just looking before we started.
Take charge.
It's never an easy matchup for them. We just looked at that. They played Utah, ranked team. Where are they ranked?
They're ranked at 21 this past week.
Ranked at 21. They split the series. Let's just start off with that. Not bad. 5-3 loss in the first game, and then 5-2 win.
Yep, you got it right.
I didn't make that up. I didn't know that.
Beautiful.
Yeah, but looks good. I mean, that's a good, especially against a ranked team. Way to, again, not really able to watch those games too well. I know I was pretty busy this weekend, so I didn't turn on the live stream. So
I watched a little bit. I did get to catch some of it. I think it's the fact that they kept that first game within a goal. You know, they lost by 2 because of an empty netter. The fact that they were able to keep that game within 1 to the end, and then, of course, go out the next day and beat them by 3 is huge. I think that's actually really good for their ranking, because there are 10 teams in this conference. Every single one of them is ranked in the top half of the entire division. If the average ranking between the teams in the conference is like in the top 20.
Yeah, you said it was what, like
18 something.
Yeah,
18.7 or something like that. Like something
like
crazy.
That. Yeah, WCHL with the top average,
7 teams in the top 25
ranking.
this past week. Of course,
well, 7 teams in the top 25
this past week.
Yeah, UCO
Is up
2.
there.
Yep. UNLV's up in top 5.
Yeah, UNLV 4. And
Arizona.
ASU 24.
Arizona is 11. Missouri State is 15. Colorado State 19, Utah 21, Arizona State 24, and then Oklahoma just barely missed. They were 26. They just
26.
barely missed.
And we're
then
30?
GCU is 30.
35, excuse me. We're 35.
CU is 35. There are 72 teams in D1. Every single team's in the top half, and I think that, of course, that was last week. I think those rankings are going to kind of fluctuate quite a bit. Of course, CSU getting swept out of San Diego, getting beat by the Aztecs twice.
Missouri State lost
Twice.
to UCO. I mean, we'll see, because the week prior, Missouri State and Utah were right next to each other.
Yeah.
And then Missouri State jumped up, and Utah stayed the same. So now we'll see what changes. But Missouri State and Utah, 2 good teams. And last weekend it was Utah. Now next weekend it's Missouri State for the Buffaloes. So
Yeah, and then they don't get a break. The next week's Colorado. Not necessarily the next week.
The
next
next
games
set,
are Colorado State.
and I can't wait for that.
Oh, it's gonna be so cool.
Yeah,
I'm honestly interested to see if CSU does stay in the rankings at all. I'm not exactly sure. Let me double check here where SDSU ended up. San Diego State going into this weekend was ranked 57 in the country.
And I guess
So-
it depends on all the
That's-
other
that's
games.
a-
I think that's more of what's telling from what they did last year, because we saw when
I was
they
going to say,
played.
that's a marked improvement from
I
last year.
I don't think that they were even 57 going into the way that they played against us.
No,
you know.
well, we beat them 7-0 and 7-1 in the games in Boulder last January, and
they had the 1-goal
whew,
game.
I want to say like 4-3 and like
4-3.
4-2 or something in San
5
Diego in
5
September.
No, the second one was
Oh,
like
the second one was like
9-6.
9-6.
It was.
Yeah,
It was. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
4-3 was the first game this year.
So honestly, really good improvement for the Aztecs there.
I'm actually just proud of them for winning, a couple games here against any WCHL.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
just
no,
impressive.
exactly. I mean, because we've got CSU coming in, December 1st and 2nd.
Can't wait.
It
says
sounds
Jared
like
with the most.
you're excited for that.
Well, first, we already know I like hockey.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
rivalry hockey is just a whole different level.
Yeah.
Well,
So
that's
I'm
true.
double excited.
And
Yeah.
it was great last year. With the whole all the
Oh.
students, the fans,
Mm-hmm.
people. Well, actually, it'll be funny this year because people, do you remember the December game? Were packing like the windows.
Yeah.
And they've taken a lot of those windows away.
That is true.
So
Wait, they took win.
yeah.
Have you not
I
noticed
did.
that?
No, I
Yeah,
didn't notice
I told
that.
you the whole because when
Oh, 'cause
they
they
renovated.
repainted.
Yeah, when
Yeah.
they renovated.
I didn't
the
realize
rink,
they took
they
windows
did-
away.
Yeah, so they had the whole
I see
hallway,
it.
and it's
now that you
now-
say it, I noticed that, but I didn't think about that until right now.
Yeah, so honestly, might have more people actually within the rink itself, and
I
Well,
think
and that's gonna
That's
be
always good for
I
them.
well,
think
and
Coach
that's
Prime
gonna.
should show up.
I
you
agree.
can
but-
DM him. And
That'd
be
be
like,
sick.
Hey,
That would be amazing.
Hey.
But I do think that is a good point. I think looking forward to that game, I'm gonna be. One thing I'm really interested now with there being less window viewing, how many more people are going to be in the rink and how much crowded it's going to be
Yes,
around where
how much
we're going to be
louder
and loud,
and
yeah.
how much that can spur on
the Buffs
our
themselves.
team, obviously, because obviously
They should show up this weekend
Yeah, well,
as a precursor.
Well, yeah,
an excited pregame for it.
Because I remember last season that the first set with CSU, I'm pretty sure they lost the one up in Fort Collins.
Yeah, they the one game that they won that season against CSU was the 8-2 win.
Yep. Yeah.
was-
And so the one we won,
that
we scored
was
8 goals in. Yeah, you had your McConaughey Spinorama one.
Borgie had the hat trick.
Yeah, Borgie
Lyman
hat
did
trick.
something cool
He had
too.
the toe drag.
Yeah.
If you will.
No, so just just noticeably spurred on by like that huge crowd, and I would love to see that again. But yeah, our next 3 opponents, actually, I don't know if you've looked at it, but I just was looking at the schedule last night. But we come back from winter break and immediately play Central Oklahoma.
Oh,
on
yeah, it's their first
January, I wanna
opponent,
say
yeah.
13th, 14th.
Yeah,
12th, 13th,
that's a
actually,
road
might be.
game.
So yeah,
that's
over,
tough.
over in Oklahoma, we play Missouri State, as you
Yep,
said.
that well,
what are they? They're
They're 15 right now.
Yeah. So current rankings 15. Then you have rivalry series CSU current ranking 19, and obviously there's
That'll
a whole,
drop.
Yeah, but I'm just saying current rankings. And,
Yeah.
And obviously there's a whole winter break in there. But yeah, you come back and go on the road immediately against the second best team current in the whole league.
One thing I think I will ask you guys, do you think that a semester break would help them in that series against Central Oklahoma, or do you think nothing really will change? Do you think they'd look better coming out of the semester, or no?
I think I said this last episode. I do not like long breaks.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I know you
Especially against a team that good.
Yeah.
It's just like I don't even like kind of how their schedule has been this semester. I mean, it's just been on and off. I feel like they barely
has
played
been
any
very-
games.
Yeah. Well, I mean, remember they had that series scheduled against Iowa
that's
State,
true.
but then that got taken away.
So I don't know. I just feel like it's tough, especially against a team of that caliber, just not playing in games and then going, second best team in the country that's already beaten pretty handedly twice. It's like, I'm not a huge fan. But.
Yeah, it's finding that rhythm is like, you've been gone, you've been on break, it's been holidays, you had Christmas, you had New Year's, build up back through January, and you get back to, and this series happens before we're even back in like our official spring semester.
Yeah, that's I will say that is kind of
so-
nice, so we don't have to worry about they're at home this weekend.
Yeah, so
that's
it's
the weekend
just
we come
it's
back.
yeah, it's just a thing of can you keep whatever groove, rhythm, and flow you had between players as a whole team, whatever. Because obviously as you play more, you just kind of get into that rhythm. Whether you're winning or losing, you just get into just the general functions of things just become much more natural as you continue down the season, and there is that huge break coming back right up against one of the best teams. I'm kind of in the same boat with Jared. Is they could have a better chance because obviously UCO also coming off winter break, but I just think that the collective talent level is different enough that it won't matter that much. I think. Now they can feel free to prove me wrong, and I'd love for them.
Oh my
to
gosh,
go into
even just
Oklahoma
getting a win against them.
Yeah, no,
that
feel
would
free
be
to prove me wrong.
Well,
I would love that.
And I say that mainly because I've been keeping track with them a little bit. They played the University of Mary a couple weeks ago, and the University of Mary, this is just their first year in D1. They just got here, and they won the West Region in D2 last year. They were the top seed there. Went to nationals. They didn't win nationals. That was UMass who won the nationals that year, but they went in and then they played UCO and they won and they split with them. They just split. They weren't in any like the poll rankings, but once the first computer rankings come out, instantly shot up to top 5.
Yeah,
it's like beating them was absolutely huge. Only loss UCO has this year. It's huge. If they're able to get even one win, that's huge. That puts them in the rankings.
I mean, yeah, it's that happens. I do think that at this level of hockey, you know, the talent difference is enough that if you beat a team like that, that's a big deal. Because, you know, you look at like the NHL or whatever, and you've got, you know, currently like Boston and Vegas, you know, I would say are probably the top 2 teams. And if you're, you know, if you're the Wild right now, currently something like 22nd or something. You know, you beat Boston, Vegas. It's a big deal, but it's not. You know, they're not going to shove you to like number 6 in the power rankings.
Yeah,
you know, that talent level is more similar across the board.
Even.
But yeah, exactly. Here, there's enough of a difference level between the teams it's a big deal and could really help the Buffs kind of rise to prominence within the division a little bit, because obviously we're currently bottom of the WCHL, dead last, but they're 5-5 with 15 points. They're 3 points behind Utah, who they just played and split with at 18.
But
their next opponents, Missouri State, are 21, so they're 6 points behind that.
Yeah,
you know?
so
that's not that far.
They have the least games played by 2?
Everyone else has played at least 12.
I think
with
that's also
CSU playing 16 games up in 4th, and the Buffs have played 10.
But I think it's interesting when you think about like their conference standings. They're 2-4 so far. Split with Oklahoma, split with Utah, and then of course the 2 losses to UCO. So, and those are and like
teams.
It makes sense why they split with Utah. Like, I don't feel like there's anything out of the ordinary so far with their record so far. With how things looked last season, I actually think that it's great that they got a win in Salt Lake City, because Utah was like hovering around like top 10. They were kind of like in the high teens for the majority of last season. So that's a huge win just to get one of them out in Utah.
Well, it's also a huge win because I was checking. I said to you guys earlier, I was checking out their broadcast for that first game. And I don't know how, but somehow the game for Utah on this Friday or whatever it was their first home game this season. Yeah, for home opener. Yeah, season starts mid-September and they hadn't been home yet.
That's wild.
Yeah, so Utah actually is about to. I think they have a 12-game homestand now.
Holy
Their next 12 are at home, which is like a crazy schedule. But to split with a also pretty good team in their home opener when they're going to be trying harder. They obviously lost the home opener, the Buffs did, but they came back, rebounded for that second game, and took the win. So in a team who's probably trying to play at least a little bit better for their home fans who haven't gotten to see them yet this year, I'd say that's a pretty good win, honestly.
Yeah, well, they're going to get a chance. Utah's going to get a chance to really kind of impress the home fans. They get Arizona this weekend. But I think kind of looking forward to this weekend, what are you guys expecting, and what do they need to do to put up a fight against Missouri State? Because I have at least something.
I mean, I think you need your depth. I don't even know if they call them depth scorers anymore, but like not the big names from last year. You have Dougie Wood now, who's leading the team, who had a hat trick in the win.
He had
5 goals this weekend, right?
4, I think.
I think it was 4.
Yeah.
But that's just like, crazy.
It's like you have these. I don't know, because Utah, I feel like based on the rankings and what we've seen, it's like Utah and Missouri State are fairly similar levels, it seems like. So I think like if you have those players step up, then it's possible. I mean, we also saw the Buffs win last year too at home against Missouri State.
Both times.
Yes.
They won both games?
Yeah, those were my first calls ever.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, 4-2 on the 21st over them, and then it was The next day
5-4
it was
James save.
Yep. 5-4.
Because that ended right at the end, but
Yeah. Empty
obviously
net
that
for
big save right at the end.
Yeah, empty net for MSU, and it was just right at the end. They all were like hugging on the right side of the ice. But it'll be interesting. You were talking about like top scorers. I'm just briefly looking over at what you have versus Utah. In terms of points on the teams, leading scorer leading points leader Dougie Wood with 12. Then it's McConaughey with 10 and Trunka with 9. Those are the top 3, and you can see McConaughey scored the first goal in the first game. Wood scored the second goal, and then if you go over to game 2, you have Wood scoring the hat trick. McConaughey assisted on both 2 of the first 2 of those 3, and then Trunka scored the next 2 goals.
Had a beautiful breakaway goal to ice the game.
Exactly.
That was really nice at the end of that game.
So at least in this past weekend, you have those top point producers showing up that the Buffs have. But
so I think they need that to continue.
Yes,
but
definitely.
I think they also are going to need more help.
Yeah, you've been talking about Borgie. You've been talking about Farrow, I believe.
I think it was mostly like the players that we saw in the first game against SDSU.
Yes.
They haven't really done, at least on the score sheet, as much. Again, it's hard to tell because they haven't really played that many home games, so it's a lot easier to see when we're there. So right now it's like I don't know, based on score sheets, which I think can be deceptive sometimes. It's like you do want more people to kind of step up, especially some of the players from last year who were really
Pashenik, Borgie, Kate.
I think Borgie and Pashenik are the 2 that I'm kind of really looking for to kind of pull a little more weight. Borgie scored just his first goal of the season this past weekend. Borgie was one of the leading scorers for this team last season, and you could say that's part of just that they switched up the lines, and it's not Borgie, McConaughey, and Pashenik this time. McConaughey's been playing with Marcin Kevicius and
who got at least that first assist, and there you go. You've got some Pashenik on that Borgie goal,
but I do think that it's going to be really interesting. I'd like to see that third line get going. McConaughey, because he's been carrying that line a little bit. Like Issa, he had a great first series against San Diego State.
Yes.
Hasn't done that much since, at least on the score sheet.
He's 3-3 for 6 points. I've liked how he's played.
Oh, definitely. yeah, for sure.
But,
same thing can go with Marcin Kevicius.
I've loved how Marcin Kevicius has played.
I've been just from what we've seen, really like what he's been doing, and that line has gotten great stuff. I'd like to see them put it in the back of the net a little bit more. Because McConaughey's been the one who's been able to finish those, but I feel like having kind of the more of those really nice plays with the defenders and whatnot, that would be great.
And I would say it's definitely a thing you could look for is the easy answer of just look for rebounds, because a lot of the time I think we are getting either some big rebounds that we could be capitalizing on, or we have a decent net front presence. But we haven't been getting that, long shot in, rebound, tap in goal, which could really help, honestly, from some of those players, Marcin Kevicius, other players like that.
I also think part of it is just like we talked about how good the conference is. So when you're playing those top teams, it's not gonna come as easily. So sometimes it could just be maybe matchups, but it's definitely gonna. Like when you see some of the leaders in the country with like 42 points. It's like, well, I mean,
who are they
playing?
Yeah.
So I mean, I think when you see a conference where every team is in that top half of the league, it's like, well,
it makes more sense why
because I mean, even the top scorer in the WCHL, it's not anything crazy.
Who is it?
It's Sam Sykes, 26 points from Central Oklahoma.
Oh yeah,
and then and then there's only one other player with 21 or 20 plus points. So it's like, even in this conference, it's not that the scoring is lower than the rest of the country. It seems like.
Yeah, and even those top 5 are composed 4 of which the top teams: UCO, UNLV, UCO, Missouri State, and UNLV are the top 5 scores.
Yeah.
School-wise.
So, what I'm really interested in is, from just taking a note from this past week, I'm really interested to see what they do with the goaltender situation. Obviously, we had Ethan James playing because Liam Hogan was hurt last year when Missouri State came to Boulder.
He played all 4 games against Missouri State.
Oh yeah, he played the 2 away.
Yep, it was the same 2 goaltenders. It was Griffin. It was Griffin and James. Yep.
So Matt Server played the first game against Utah, had 45 shots against him.
Yeah.
So that's pretty tough.
It's also been something I've noticed because I want to see Server do better, and based on how I've watched him play, I think he definitely can. I just think the issue is, from what I've seen, most of the games he's played, those have just been the ones where he's given up a lot of shots, and that's not his fault. You know, if you're giving up 45 shots, not on average, but I think around there, high 30s, low 40s on average when Server's in net, that's just unsustainable for your goalie. You know, you can only save so many. And when they're playing O'Gwen, honestly, I do think they allow fewer shots typically. It's just something I've noticed.
Well, he got the win on Saturday.
Yes, that was the second game. Yeah.
That was the first game he played on the road this season.
Really?
Yeah, first game he's played on the road this year.
Service started all the other ones, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it really does seem like this team plays so much different, and they get so much of a better shot when Liam Hogan plays.
And it definitely could be a newness thing.
Yeah.
Obviously, Ogwen has played, I believe, the past 2 seasons, but at the very least the past season with the team. And it could genuinely just be a familiarity team. He knows better how they play in front of him, and they know what they can and can't give up in terms of shot-wise with Ogwen and net, possibly better than they do with Server. It could just genuinely be they need a little bit more time to click, but that can only be an excuse for so long. Yeah. You do have to tighten up eventually. And that's something I think they could definitely work on, because there are a lot of times where there'll be like high shots on goal, and if you're not scoring as much, obviously Wood has 8 goals, but then coming down from that, McConaughey next highest 4, Trunko next highest 4, Pearson 4, and then it goes out. It's Pashenik, Islanik. There's not a lot of goals being scored. So if you're allowing those amount of shots, you've got to pick up that goal increase, which is where I think some of that, more crashing the net could come into handy.
Well, yeah, and I think it's like in those games where they maybe let up those high shot counts, they got to find a way to put it in the back of the net, got to find a way to put more shots on, even if they may be being outplayed, just find a way to just, throw stuff on net, because, sometimes stuff happens, and the goalie can give up a really ugly goal.
Exactly. At the worst,
good things happen when you just throw it on the net.
I know it always sounds so cliche, but like genuinely, the worst you can do is just throw the puck near the goalie, and it could get tipped, it could bounce, it could just the goalie could just miss it. It could, there's so many things that could happen. So, at worst case, just throw the puck at the net, and that's not obviously how you want to always play. You can't just be like, chipping and chasing and throwing it down, because that then obviously leads to easy opportunity for a quick rush breakup for the other team if you're not prepared. But like, it's definitely something that could be factored in a little bit more.
So, I guess this is probably the last thing I kind of want to talk about. Who gets the start on Friday, and why? Do you think that they play Server at all this weekend?
I think they do.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be split. I don't know what days, but I'd have to. I don't know. I mean, they've been splitting all season, so I don't see why that would change. I mean, they're 5-5. I assume they're just going to split it again. And
I honestly think they might start with Ogwen first night, and if he does well, they might go with him again. And if he doesn't, then they have the option to go to Server. But I think they might start Ogwen for the first one, just for that, if there is that sense of familiarity for that. You're at home. This is a team that could be really beneficial in beating at the very least once, but preferably twice. And you might just want that, if any, more sense of security in net.
Okay.
is a possibility.
That's kind of how I feel as well, Aidan.
Makes sense.
I kind of feel that way as well. The team just looks better when Ogwen's in net.
Yeah, and I don't know why. I mean, this is all speculation.
Yeah,
I don't know it's that exact reason. The players may not even know, but it's just based on pure eye test. They do look a little bit better when Ogwen is in net.
Yeah, and they found ways to win when he's in net too. And I feel like if they find themselves in a situation where they let up a couple goals because they're just letting up a lot of shots, I feel like just trying to get to those dirty areas like you mentioned. Just make sure that not every goal has to be pretty.
No.
You just got to make sure that you're crashing the net, trying to distract the goaltender, good screens. Make sure that the shots don't get blocked as well, because
there have been a lot
obviously
of
it's like, you can see the shot counter. It's like, oh, they had, like ACHA has them at 14 shots in that first game against Utah.
But how many of those attempts were blocked?
How many shot attempts were blocked? How many shot attempts they have? Much higher.
And how accurate is the ACHA?
Well, and that's also true. We're never like in sync when we do it. Like,
no,
you're never in sync.
No, I do. I'm usually close.
You're usually pretty close, but it's never like.
I think I'm just personally more conservative with what I count as a shot.
That's
and
fair.
What is not, because I'll see something that I'll be like, that's wide, and then maybe it was counted a shot.
Yeah, it all depends on the person who tracks that type of stuff. So, but you guys want to move on to the D2 team, kind of talk about their game this past weekend, and then see what's coming up here, or do you have?
I actually had a couple more, one more thing.
Okay.
With the D1, I know I've talked to you guys a number of times about Bandoni, and obviously he's only played half their games, right? He's only played 5 of the 10, but I think and how he skates really is one of those players that they could honestly, I think, utilize more. He's not very tall, right? But he's quick, and he's from what I've noticed is really, really agile. So there's again, all speculation just based on what I've seen, but there's the idea that if you want some of that crashing the net, if you want some of that just a quick response, you could utilize Bandoni as like a puck mover, right? Because he's really shifty on the ice, like just in tight spaces as well. He's very good in tight spaces due to just like size and whatever. And I think you could utilize him more as a transitioner, carry the puck in, and say you've put McConaughey on the same line. Just for example, have him be the trailer there, because McConaughey definitely could keep up with Bandoni. They can skate at similar speeds. So have Bandoni kind of come in, bring the puck in, and then should you get the defenseman to break coverage or something, quick pass that puck right to the trailer, McConaughey, quick snipe in. So you could have those kinds of plays and utilize that. Speed a bit more. You might have to match it up with a defenseman or other forward that is a little bit more physical to balance that out, definitely. But I think that's kind of like a little bit of an untapped area that they haven't quite looked at, because Bandoni doesn't have a goal, but he also doesn't have an assist, and I think he could be really, really beneficial with those assists and get them over to players who maybe are more wide open than he, because if he's carrying the puck, the defensemen are going to go after him. But I think he's definitely shifty enough in those really tight areas that he could get that and just quickly get the puck out, and increase scoring in that manner. Could also definitely not use McConaughey and use a myriad of other players as you're taking a stroll around here. A myriad of other players to increase just general points across the board.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to see. That'll be this Friday, 8:00.
I think it's 7. The first game I think is at 7.
Are you sure? Because I thought the D2 team plays.
Oh no, you're
5.
right. You're right.
Yeah, first game D1 is 8, and
Look at you.
D2 MSU is at 5. Yeah.
So I guess we'll have to see then.
Yeah.
I would like for them to look at that though as just like an option, just something to as a possibility to work with.
All right. You guys want to move on to the D2 team, see what's upcoming here for Metro State. I'll tell you what, it is going to be a tough game.
Yeah.
Metro State has looked, they haven't lost a conference game. They look nigh unstoppable. Nice. They look really good. Of course, they won 8-4 in Westminster on Friday, and now they get to be up here in Boulder. But they've been dominating this conference, and they've looked really good against Denver. I mean, the thing that stands out to me, and I think I said this in the last podcast. So the last time we talked about the D2 team was really looking into that game that Metro State was going to play in Denver the day after they played us. Mm-hmm. They go into Denver and they won 5-0. So I think that this is going to be a really tough game, and they're really going to have to play their lights. They're going to have to play lights out if they want to get the win here against Metro State.
Yeah, it's definitely not going to be easy. Metro State's been good the last couple of years as well. I mean, they play a bunch of D1 teams as well and keep it pretty close, if not winning.
They beat the CSU D1 team in overtime to start the year.
So, exactly.
That was a wild game. I watched the end of that. That was wild.
They're a good team. So, I think it's one of those things where it's like, you got to play well, and I don't think this season's gone how they wanted it to, but there's still a lot of time left, and it's going to be a tough game. Mm-hmm. But you have you're at home, so that could make a slight difference. But overall, it's just going to be that Metro State team is good.
So what interests me is the rankings that came out this past week. Obviously, that'll change because they update the rankings on Wednesday. We record these the day before. Mm-hmm. On the initial, and it was the first rankings of the year for the D2 teams. In the West region, Denver was at 7, Metro State was at 8. I think Metro State might get boosted up into the top 5 going into this weekend because they looked really, really good. And I think that this is going to be a really interesting. I'm really interested to see how CU's going to play because they scored 4 times. But they were down 3-0 before they scored. Mm-hmm. It was 5-1 before they scored again. They made it 5-3, and then they let up 3 more in a row. They just cannot let up the amount of shots they put on, and they had Siegel pulled. They did not. They played both goaltenders in that game.
Yeah, I think that goal scoring thing is something to note because looking at the roster and the points, honestly, it's not a lot. Obviously top points are Sadiq and Pitones with 8 each, but there's, at least in comparison to the D1 team as well, there's a lot more spread of that wealth. Yeah. And I noticed that with at least that MSU game, Pitones scored twice, but the other goals were Neffs and
Sadiq.
Yeah. So
yeah,
so Neffs and Sadiq, and there's that. They're more spread out, so there is more opportunity for them to find people to score from. If someone's being shut down, or a whole line even is being shut down, you have that possibility to go to some of your other players and be like, you need to score, and they have the ability to, definitely. But as you've said, MSU Denver is they're just good, and I'm sure they know that, and I'm sure they're looking to shut that down entirely.
Well, and I think that's what's interesting is something I've already asked this to you guys about the D1 team, but I feel like it's more warranted and more of an interesting question for the D2 team because both goaltenders played. Siegel let up 5 goals before getting pulled. Lawrence let in 3. Siegel played for about 5 minutes longer. Technically,
I was going to say he only played 5.
So yeah, 5. So Siegel played for 35 minutes, and Lawrence played for 25. Mm-hmm. So 5-minute difference, really. Yeah. Even though it is technically 10 minutes, but I think who gets the start? Who do they decide to go with in this game at home?
I think they go back to Siegel.
Yeah, I mean Siegel's your starter.
He's the starter.
Yeah. You think they stick with him?
I have to imagine so.
Okay.
I think they trust him to play.
Okay.
I just don't. I mean, I don't think they, as a team, I think they all probably know they have 3 wins on the season. What, they're
3-8 now, I think.
3-8. So I think they know they still need to turn things around. So I think it's like a team kind of effort.
Okay.
More than just you can't just blame the goalie, especially when you see how things are going this season so far. So I think they'll go back to Siegel.
Okay.
And then I guess see what happens, because they do play Saturday as well against Idaho State.
Yeah.
Which, let me tell you something about Idaho State. They've played 3 games so far this year. They had the misfortune of playing 2 of the top 3 teams.
That's unfortunate.
They played Weber State. I think that if I remember correct, if I'm reading this correctly, 28-0.
Ooh. Are we sure they're actually showing up?
That's bad.
Utah State the next day.
Well, how many
19-1.
Have they played? Like
18-1.
Have they played all their scheduled games, or like it's not scheduled games?
Yes. They just haven't scheduled very many, and that's probably why they're an independent school and not like an actual conference.
Wow.
They played Utah State again about a month later. 20-1 loss.
Wow.
Yeah, that's tough.
It's like that's top 3 teams in the country.
Yes, but honestly,
in the region, but still,
that's a game you're looking to win.
Yeah,
yeah. Even if you don't,
you have
to. You can't lose.
No, you can't lose the game. 1, 2. You probably should put double-digit points.
Yes, you probably should. That's a game you need to look at if you're trying to get a jump start on scoring. Mm-hmm. That's a game you need to. And
I would say I'd be interested to see what the result from the Idaho State-Wyoming game the day before would be, but we're probably not going to get that score in time before the game. They're probably not going to put it in.
Yeah, we'll see. No, just quickly back to the Siegel thing, just because I just think also I agree with Jared, just because I think with the D2 team it's less of a split situation than it is with Ogwen and Server. I think it is like Siegel is their main goalie, and it's just like a morale thing as well, like they're not going to want to be like, you gave up 5, we pulled you, thus you're not gonna play, Yeah. Like that's not a way to reinstill confidence in anything. And of course you're going to be worried about, okay, is he going to let up that amount more, less, again? But I think I agree with Jared. You have to stick with him and see it out. If he doesn't play well, then you can go to Lawrence. But I think you do have to just stick it out and see how Siegel does.
Very interesting. All right. Well, that's kind of summing that up. I really just am interested to see how they play this weekend. I mean, they're in a, and it's interesting because we haven't got a chance to see them play either Wyoming or CSU. No. The games that they have played at home have been pretty tough games. They've only had they haven't even had that many games at home.
No, we've barely been able to.
Yeah, they played Denver,
East Texas Baptist,
3-2, and then the 2.
East Texas Baptist is also ranked in the top 20 in the region. I think there's about 50 teams in the West region this year, and they're winning their conference, I believe, as well. So
notable for that game at least is obviously we got shut out. Twice. But they also did not score that much.
No, it was just three goals in the entire series.
Yeah, they did not score that. It was 2-0 and 1-0 then, yeah?
Yep.
Yeah.
I think it was flipped. 1-0 the first game.
Well, yeah.
But still.
So that's at least a good sign. Is that, against another good team who's currently ranked like 20th or something. 17. They only allowed 3 goals over 2 games. Now, they scored none.
How much do you put on that goaltender, though?
Yeah, so I think, honestly, from what I remember, the Tigers...
score himself, Alex. You know that.
I honestly, from what I remember about the Tigers goaltender, I remember him playing quite well. But you still didn't score anything.
Yeah, that's
true.
That's
It's just scoring. If you can kind of take that similar performance and at least tone it down, like if you can tone MSU to 4, or 3 or whatever, you easily have a chance there.
Also, probably can't let up 51 shots either.
That's also true.
Well,
I agree.
Yeah, that's
tough
something you don't want to do.
Kind of stating the obvious, but
that's
important.
That has been a recipe for failure for both the men's teams here. The game in those games where they let up like 50+ shots, they are just getting worked, and it's just the games that they've played against far superior competition. When you look back at the D1 team series against UCO, UCO is just running circles around their defense. It was just getting any shot that they wanted. And it's like if they keep throwing on shots, they're going to find a couple good ones that are going to get past their goaltender. So I think limiting the amount of shots, getting a couple shots that, blocking some good shots, I think just laying it out on the line there is going to be huge.
Yeah, for sure. But like even just comparing, obviously the limiting of the shots is super important. But in just terms of pure goals, comparing Metro State and CU, Metro State has 12 more than the Buffs. And in terms of goals allowed, we've allowed 2 more, 42-40.
Okay, that's not that bad.
No, so there's now ignoring the 78 goals allowed by Wyoming, that's an outlier. Ignore that for now. Those are the 2 higher ends of goals allowed. Denver has 32 and CSU has 31. But so that defense, at least overall, generally seems to be on par-ish with Metro State. But then you have those goals for Denver has 50, Metro State has 50, Colorado State has 51, CU has 38, Wyoming has 39.
Yep.
So
there you go.
As much as I've been saying that the points are getting spread out, and they are, they're just also not scoring. It's just coming from a lot of different people. So that as well, that the Idaho State game, that's why that could also be really, really important. Should you lose this MSU game, a follow-up and be like, we just need to score,
Yeah. Just restore our confidence offensively.
Yeah, exactly. So it's honestly a big weekend here for
both teams.
Definitely for both teams. I think it's different for both. Obviously, I think standings wise, is that for the D1 team, but for the D2 team, I think it's just just a rejuvenation weekend if you can. Just inject some life a little bit back into here before, we were talking about with the D1 team, you're about to go on a winter break, so at least find some positive notes to end the semester on.
Yep, they get 4 home games to end the semester, which is nice. They've been on the road for a month and a half.
Yeah, they've been gone. The women's team as well has been gone.
I feel like we haven't watched a hockey game here in a while.
It's been 3 weeks.
It's been a few weeks.
Yeah,
I think
this weekend will be 3 weeks.
This will be the first home games in November.
Yep.
And the only home games in November because next weekend's Thanksgiving and then week after that is December.
Yeah. So end of the semester coming up quite rapidly. So it's just positives you need to look for this D2 team. Obviously, you want to win both, but if you want to be just pragmatic about it and be like, okay, we may not win the MSU one. What are positives we can look at? I just think that's what they need to look for.
Yeah. I guess we'll see on Friday, 5 p.m.
I like that. That's been I've had 2 spiels, and you've been like, well,
I don't think you're wrong.
Friday. I don't think it's just. I think it's just lack of stuff to add.
No, that's fine.
Sorry, Friday.
I've been talking too long. Podcast now.
We'll find out on Friday.
Yeah, we'll find out.
8 p.m. I'm excited. I've been missing hockey.
Yeah,
a lot.
You got to see the Devils though, so I mean, at least you got.
We're
a
not talking
bit.
about that.
Your NHL team is miserable.
Well, Jack Hughes isn't playing. Nothing else matters right now.
He does not know the Islanders are 50th in the East. He does
not realize what I have had to go through the last couple of years.
He does not know the Avalanche lost 8-2 to the Blues.
I'm not listening to a 3-time Stanley Cup team in the last decade. It might not be a decade anymore.
No, it's not 3 times. It's only 2 in a decade now, and that'll go down to 1 next year.
That's true.
We haven't had a meaningful playoff appearance since 2017.
Let's go, Chicago.
We've had 1 playoff since 2017.
But that was the qualifier.
I guess
the 8th seed, and we were
because technically we did make it in 20. Yeah. Whatever.
You had last year.
Last year was fun. Yeah. Now Jack Hughes and Nico Hischier and we look bad at hockey, but it's fine. It's early. Still a lot of hockey left.
It's still a lot of hockey left. It's mid-November.
That's it. You just got to
do what the Avs did last night. They've been awful, and then they were like, "Okay, Seattle, let's score 5 goals on you."
Yeah. Well, we'll see. And
They're coming
then-
back to the Buffs. You got to find a way. You got to find a way. You got to find
exactly.
a way, man.
Find a way, win the cup. You know,
Yep.
find a way. Found a way.
Just take it down, regroup, have that meeting, and just start winning games. It's not that hard, guys.
Well,
just win games.
I mean, yeah,
It's
it's
a lot
not.
easier
It's a lot easier to say.
Easier said than done.
Yeah, we can sit here and be like, just win the games, guys. It's
I mean,
easy.
my adult league team's still 0-5, so.
Have you played since the infamous?
Well, you had the other 4-goal difference.
No,
one, the
it was
third one,
only
didn't
threes.
you?
It was only 3. We lost 7-4. I made a joke saying we lost 7-3. It was 7-4 though.
Okay.
And then we lost 7-6. So it's a lot better.
That's not 4 goals.
That's not 4
one.
goals. That is.
It's your the positives to look
Yeah.
for. You know.
Although in that 7-6 loss, we were winning 6-5 with 25 seconds left, and then lost.
Well,
was it even in
okay.
overtime or no?
No. It was. They scored with 2 seconds left to win. But
well,
you know
that's
what?
poor.
Oh.
When was the tying goal?
25 seconds left. Yeah, no. But every team makes the playoffs. So
There we go. Complacency.
yeah, I had
sure.
2 goals that game too.
Hey,
Yeah.
I also tripped myself on a breakaway.
Good
I'm
job.
not gonna talk about that. Very funny video if anyone found it, but I'm hoping no one did because that was very embarrassing.
So this is my. Here's the video you need to put over.
Okay.
this
I mean, you
week.
can find
go
it.
Find
Comments.
go find
I'm not gonna
Jared's
tell
video.
you how to find it, but I know
Jared Miller.
I know where to
tripping
find it. I'm just not gonna tell you. I also don't want to pay for it. So
Oh, is it like a paid service?
it's like I forgot what they call it.
Yeah,
but
I'm
like
not paying.
A lot of rinks have it,
Mhm.
where it's like they record everything, and you have like a subscription to go check it out.
Yeah, I'm not paying
So-
to get a video of you tripping. I'm
Yeah.
not.
It was very funny though. Not at the time.
I bet it was, but I'm not paying.
Yeah, I was not laughing at the time, but now I can.
Well, you were tripping. Is
Well,
what was
well,
happening.
yeah,
That's what was happening at the time.
Even when I stood up, I wasn't happy because I went to the bench and my stick, I'm happy, didn't split. in half.
At what point in the game did this
It was
happen?
the second period.
Okay, because I was gonna say
No,
you stood up and then got scored on twice and then lost.
No, that was later. I scored 2 goals after I tripped on the breakaway.
Okay, response.
Yeah, I know,
some
yeah.
good response.
Anyway, so women's hockey here at Colorado. What's going on that, Alex?
They had a 2-0 lead in the first period after the first period against
shoot.
Denver 2 weeks ago now, 10 days ago now, and they ended up losing 3-2. So they're now sitting at 1-4 in conference, and that is a game that they probably have to have because now
Still a lot of
looking at
time
their
left.
record,
Yeah, they're 2-8.
They're 2-8. They're 1-4 in conference.
4 points.
Again, you only need to be top 4. GCU, who is their next opponent, still only has 1 win on the year.
A lot of time left.
CSU has only won 1 conference game.
I think it's still too early to worry. Obviously,
still too early to worry,
It's
but-
not great to blow a 2-0 lead and then lose.
It's too early to worry, but
But
as
you
I've
don't like that.
But the difference between them and the other 2 teams is they do have far fewer games left.
That's true.
They've only got 2 games left in the first semester, and that's against GCU at home. Mm-hmm. So
who's the only team below them.
Yep.
And
And
honestly,
GCU.
those have to be 2 wins.
Yeah, they've finished. They're done. The entire conference is done. The only team who's playing until December pretty much is CSU. Everyone else is done. So GCU will play the day before they play us in Fort Collins, and then of course they play against us. So they may get it. They'll get an extra game before they play us, but I think that it is true. I think that one they've got to win. I think both of those games.
Yeah, I also think they're in the better position just because it is win percentage, and like you only gotta beat out 2 teams.
Mm-hmm.
That's all you gotta do. You just can't come in last or second to last.
Well, yeah,
I forgot about that part. But.
I mean,
These are our last conference games. They played. I mean, outside of these, just 4 games against CSU and 2 games against Utah left. So they've only got 8 conference games left to make a mark.
Yeah, and
the game started.
CSU 5 points ahead of them.
They need it. They need it.
And as has been like clearly shown with the discussion of the past 2 teams, I'm enjoying the goal for, goal against, goal differential. But here it's like we've been talking about how, and in part I think some of this is from that McKendree game, but if you're looking to be in the top 4, there's no scoring thus far on this team. Going down the list, ASU has 50 goals, Denver has 39, Utah 32, Colorado State 40. Colorado, 16.
Yep.
Only ahead of Grand Canyon with 13. And in comparison, goals allowed, 11, 27, 26, 27.
One goal differential.
Yeah.
Oh my
yeah,
God.
Grand Canyon. Yeah, the Buff,
Oh my
the
God.
Buffs women's team has allowed 43 goals for a minus 27 goal differential, only beaten out by that minus 51 of Grand Canyon.
So,
That is
well,
tough.
to be fair, let's slow down a little bit. I know
if
we
you
can
don't
rank-
score is where
well,
I'm going here.
To be fair,
They played very good teams too.
Yeah.
6 of their 10 games so far. 6 of them have been against top 10 teams.
Yes, and
it doesn't get easier because Minnesota is ranked
6.
too.
McKendree has 6. Arizona State is 7. Jamestown is 9. And Minnesota is 12 right now.
Mm-hmm.
Michigan State is not ranked, but that was also a tough game. But I think you can't win games if you can't score. They have not scored. They've only scored more than 2 goals twice this season. Twice.
Yeah.
And that was a 4-0 win against Montana State and a 6-2 win against Denver. They score more than 2 goals, they win the game.
Yeah,
That's how it has been this season.
And it's again another easier thing to say than done. Obviously, all of this is, we can talk about this for however
and frankly,
long.
they've only had a couple games where they just let up wave after wave of goals. They've been holding their defense has been holding
that
them
second ASU
to
game. They stuck with them the
few
whole
goals.
time and only allowed 2, but they didn't score a single goal in that game.
So I think their problem is more offensive.
Or no, scored 1.
More offense rather than defense.
I think. Yes. Yeah. They're. Yeah. I wouldn't say the 43 goals allowed is stellar.
No,
it's not.
But
it's not.
it is very
the
heavily
greatest.
Those outliers
skewed.
in
Yeah,
there.
there's
Yes. They allowed
12-1,
12.
6-1,
Yes.
7-0.
Yes. So
You
I wouldn't
take
say
those
it's,
games away, they look infinitely better.
I wouldn't say it's stellar, but overall their defense has not been the issue. It's they just have not had scoring
Their
opportunities,
next
scoring
game
chances.
being against a team that has a negative 51 goal differential. That's where you got to win both of those.
Yes.
And I think you're right back in the mix
Yeah.
of things.
You have to- you
if
have
you
to
win those,
score.
you don't
those.
entirely eliminate GCU, but it makes their chances a lot harder.
Yeah, no.
And then it's just you versus one team. And
Well, GCU's 1-9.
Well,
with 2
GCU
points,
is in
so-
a much more desperate position at this point. They only have 8 games left, and 4 of them come before the end of the semester. So when they play us in between the days they play us, they're playing CSU. So they've got 4 games in a weekend: Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, off until late January, where they play Denver, and then they have ASU again. So
which is interesting for GSU because obviously they
is
were
going to need to win. Probably if they want to have a shot in the tournament, they're probably going to have to win 3 of the 4 games out here in Colorado if they want to make a stand. If they win only one of them, they're done.
So these are prime games, and it's just interesting side note with that with GCU, considering they were that runner-up finalist against Arizona State in the tournament in February.
That's true.
And are now they've won 1 game. We've won 2, so it's not really a high platform to be speaking from. But yeah, we're 2 points ahead of them, and you've got to get those 4 really from GCU, because then you're at 8. If you don't change the standings at all, how they currently are, they're a point then behind Colorado State, 2 behind Utah, 4 behind Denver.
Well, and then it's also just because remember it's conference winning percentage too as well. So
Yes.
it's the 2 wins there puts them at 3 and 4, and that's pretty good
much
because
bigger,
CSU
yeah.
is at 1-3-1 right now. They get a chance to play McKendree this weekend, so we'll see how they play. Kind of maybe gauge, compare before they obviously they'll play them on the road before they play them at home. That's how they end the year. But yeah, they have these 2 home games against GCU, and they don't play at home until February. So it is going to be a long time away from home for the team. So I think they got to make the most of these 2 home games.
Yes.
I think I hate saying must win
Can't lose.
games. Okay,
It's-
yeah.
I
guess so.
think can't lose is a slightly different thing.
Yeah.
Honestly, you don't have to win it, but you really shouldn't lose it.
Yeah,
So it's
if they win both of those games, I think they're right back in the middle of
yes,
things.
they're in a much
And
better
it's like,
position.
oh
than they
wow,
currently are.
you just got to beat one more team now to get into that. Once you get into, obviously, ASU's the front runner, I think, by
Oh
a
yeah,
landslide.
the Sun Devils look fantastic.
Well, and
They're
it's
10
like,
and 1,
these 2 wins would be huge because Utah and Denver don't play for the rest of the semester, so they're done. They're they're stagnant at 3-3 and 2-2 respectively. So
until
2 wins
after again,
yeah.
long winter break.
Yeah. So yeah.
So you just got to get in, and then who knows? Maybe something crazy happens.
You find your rhythm.
Yeah, exactly. No, this
Which is why if they're gonna stink now, because if you're gonna find a way to put off a run, it'll get you into the tournament, and then who knows what
That's
happens.
all you gotta do.
Yeah, I mean this upcoming next 2 weekends are just for all 3 teams are just really big. You've got Missouri State, in which that could really help you in your standings and bid and
get you out of last place.
Yep.
For
Yes.
sure.
Yes. In the WCHL, you've got against MSU, Denver, and Idaho State, in which we were just saying you just kind of need like a reset.
Mm-hmm. And get right game.
Yep. And you've got Grand Canyon, which I think functions a little bit as both.
Yeah.
Kind of, obviously there's the whole, we've just been talking about it for like 10 minutes, the whole standings issue, but also there's that lack of scoring. If you score on them, that could also be a little bit of a reset and trigger for perhaps more of that to come second semester. So just all 4 of these series are just really important. It's a important time for all 3 of our teams here.
Any final thoughts, Jared?
No, I'm excited for these couple games this weekend and then Thanksgiving.
Best part about this, they're at home.
Yep.
They're not on the road.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're at home for most
get
of
to do
these
something.
games. Well, yeah,
do something,
it's
and
great
they
for
get a
us.
little bit
we
of
get
advantage,
to do
yes.
something. We get to do something.
But it's also, there is some
home
benefit
sweet
to
home.
home advantage,
Home sweet home.
Yep, familiarity,
Yep.
support by the crowd. There's just something about it.
So they'll need all the support you guys can get. Show out to the rec. This weekend, 4 games. 5 p.m. D2 against Metro State, 8 p.m. D1 against Missouri State. On Saturday, 1 p.m. matinee game, D2 against Idaho State, 4 p.m. D1 against Missouri State. And then out of break, December 1st, the D1 team is in Fort Collins, and the women's team is at home against GCU. December 2nd, Colorado State game in Boulder. December 3rd, Colorado GCU take 2. So it should be very interesting with what we have going forward as we wrap up the first semester here in Boulder.
Yeah, and if obviously if you can't make it,
come watch the live streams.
Self promo.
Come watch.
Self
Please.
promo on the podcast.
Come
but
watch the live streams.
Just visibility and just exposure really helps as much as actual physical presence does.
Yep.
Just an awareness of the team, support of the team. I know the women's team just had open an apparel shop for like 2 weeks.
They closed it just yesterday.
Yesterday. Yeah, so they had an apparel shop open for 2 weeks. Increased exposure can get them increased money, can get them increased support. It just all helps. It's all connected. So self-promo.
Come support your Buffs hockey. That's it for another edition of Dangle, Snipe, and Stampede. Thanks for tuning in, and you heard it here first on Sco Buff Sports.
We'll let you know if Jared is in a 4-goal deficit next time.
Yeah, maybe I'll win a game before we record again.
Take care, everyone.